Hey guys, in today's video we're looking at the new changes coming in 8.11. This is the marksman updates, the new items, new keystones, and a bunch of changes that will mess with everybody. Plus we have Pike. This is probably going to be the biggest patch of the entire season. I'll do my best to cut it down and sum it all up though. Let's start with some general changes that affect everybody and then move into the 80 carry stuff afterwards. Make sure you leave a comment though with who you think is going to be amazing with the new Nimbus Cloak rune though. I think it's going to be pretty cool and I'm pretty sure everybody can use it. Just for that, there is a little bit of time left with this QT thing. We mentioned it, but they're trying to find out how gaming benefits us, or like why we do it, if that makes sense. They've put up 20 RP cards and graphics card or consoles as prizes for comments, so there's a link down below. You can take a few of the polls, leave a comment to help like with the discussion and also win some stuff. For the runes then, we have Halo Blaze to start with. It's this domination keystone you've heard me talk about a lot. You gain 50 to 100% attack speed for the first 3 attacks against enemy champions. It is designed for 80 carries who want to burst at the very start of a fight, but it's pretty sick actually with the new Storm Razor as well. There are a lot of different champions that can use this though, like Udyr with his Tiger Suns. It's not just for AD carries. Like if there's some kind of synergy, it's actually really good. It's nowhere near as good as like press the attack over a longer fight, like versus a tank, right? But that is the big difference. Press the attack actually does nothing for the first 3 hits, like nothing at all. Halo Blades though is all about those first 3 attacks instead. If you're taking shorter trades or you're looking to nuke somebody down, it is much better. So the Keystone Fleet for Work is also getting a few changes. Move speed lowered. Healing from minions is 20% effective for ranged champions, so another nerf. There is no reduced healing versus minions for melee anymore though, but they've removed the extra heal increase when you crit. This is probably why you're going to be looking at Press the Attack or Halo Blades as your keystone for a lot of games now after this patch. Even though all of the item builds are changing, this is one of the biggest changes here that will affect how you play because pretty much everybody takes it right now. It is worse versus minions and it doesn't scale as well with crit anymore, so it's worse early game and it's worse late game. And when this was added back in the preseason, it was a lot like this. Nobody would use that though, so 2 patches later they added the crit scaling, but they reduced the base healing on it instead. It looks like it's going to be worse now than when it was first introduced in preseason. Some champions might still want to use it, but I think a lot are going to go and swap back to more aggressive ones. There are actually 2 other new runes as well. Nimbus Cloak replacing Ultimate Hat in Sorcery. Shortly after casting your ultimate, you gain 100 move speed for 2.5 seconds that decays and lets you pass through units as a 60-second cooldown, but that is reduced by cooldown reduction. It's a pretty nuts rune. It'll be so good on a lot of different champions. You can use it to chase, escape people, kite around. There are so many uses. I feel like everybody is going to want to start taking it. You have stuff like Rakan that is going to be insane with it, with the extra move speed while he's running around with his ultimate on, charming people. But then you have stuff like Talon or Kha'Zix to go on top of the move speed boost they already have when they use their ult to get in range to kill you. I know a lot of people will be sad that Ultimate Hat is gone, but you actually have something called Ultimate Hunter now in Domination, bottom row with like the healing and the move speed. Your ultimate gains 5% cooldown reduction plus 2% per stack. So because Ultimate Hat is gone, we have this instead. You can still get ultimate cooldown reduction if you really need it for a champion. Yes, it has a stack system now like others in this row, so it's a bit different, but it is very, very similar. We do have some big champion changes actually alongside the item ones as well. So for Kha'Zix, for example, his ultimate is getting like a mini rework. The cooldown has been lowered, rank 2 and 3. The active invisible time has been lowered to 1.25 seconds per cast though. It can be used again within 10 seconds up to 2 times total, and when you evolve it, that is going to go up to 3 times within 10 seconds, and the stealth duration will be increased to 2 seconds per cast. So there's no more like bollock stealthing in every single bush around the jungle right now. It's not that bad though. 6 seconds of stealth when you upgrade it, that's pretty decent. I think most people will probably start to evolve their Q first after this change. Like it was buffed, it does a stupid amount of damage at the moment, but obviously the utility from evolving R was just really too good. This might finally see Kha'Zix stop being banned all the time though as well. That's probably the biggest difference. You'll actually play versus him a lot more, and when you do, he won't be as annoying. The biggest champion change is actually probably to Talia. She's getting a lot of stuff mainly focused around her Q. It's kind of like a mini rework. It will do roughly the same, but they are tweaking almost everything about it. The main thing that you really have to know, I guess, is the passive move speed will kick in a lot earlier now next to walls. Q is single target. Even though it'll be a bit better to spam it, I don't think that's good. When it comes to solo Q at least, her wave clear should be a lot worse, and overall she shouldn't be able to push and roam like she does now, which is a major blow to how you want to play her. Apparently, according to Riot, these are supposed to be buffs to the regular player and nerfs to the exceptional ones who are just really good at Talia. Outside of AD carry items, we actually have a few other things as well. Like Banner of Command is getting a mini rework. It's not going to give cooldown reduction anymore. The minion will not be immune from magic damage anymore. Instead, they're going to give it 30% damage reduction from towers, 100% bonus damage to towers, and 70% damage reduction from champions. Then based on the type of minion that you promoted, they get some extra stuff as well. So more health, more damage, and more resistances. 70% damage reduction in general from champions is probably the biggest takeaway from this though. That is pretty nuts. As well as like 100% bonus damage plus more AD, more attack speed. That's going to seriously hurt a tower now if they get in range. It is going to be worse as a general item though. You have to remember that. You can use it for different things a bit more, so that's great. But like, it's putting all the focus on the buff though and not on the player stats. Runic Echoes is getting a little bit more AP, up to 70, but the recipe has been changed to actually like buy it now. So there's no Lost Chapter, it's Fiendish Codex, and also Mana Crystal. 100% all this is aimed at is stopping is mid laners using it. Having no mana regen like Lost Chapter means mid laners will suffer a lot more if they choose to build it, so they're probably not going to, and that is exactly what this is supposed to do. Shirelius is also getting a bit of a nerf, again abused by mid laners. 150 gold and more expensive, but it gives a bit of mana regen, moves to be lowered, and active cooldown increased by 30 seconds. This item is busted on almost everybody. It's like one of the strongest items in the game right now. It's more gold though, active jumping up to 90 seconds. Those are big changes to bring down the power a little bit, especially for those ones abusing it as a mid laner. If you aren't as safe and you can't go aggressive as often either, that's like kind of a double nerf. So this is what the final AD carry update looks like as well. First off, combined with the fleet nerfs that we mentioned earlier, every AD carry actually has less regen. So less base AD, more AD per level, less armor but more health per level but less health regen. It's going to be slightly harder to CS early game and regen is lower. Nothing you really have to worry about or like play around, but with the fleet nerfs, it will mean regen in lane is way down. Item wise, we obviously have the new Storm Razor. First of all, it's 3,200 gold, 70 AD, and 30% attack speed, which is pretty nice actually, but the passive is really good. It's honestly a pretty powerful item when you combine it with a Shiv. This is what I've been doing on the PvE and it works really well. You've got a good amount of AD on here, plus 30% attack speed, which isn't bad at all. So you add in a Shiv and you've got a solid 2 item burst spike. That burst is really nice to start a fight for sure, but after that it becomes basically just a good amount of stats actually. And then there's the part in the passive, if you haven't attacked for 3 seconds, that sounds awful. Actually though, with some attack speed, I was getting that down to about 1 to 1.5 seconds, and that is pretty good. If you have to run back or whatever for a little bit in a team fight, like this will be active again and it will crit again when you attack. When you read that, it sounds really bad, but that part is actually like pretty good. It's way better than it sounds when you get into game and you actually play with it, if that makes sense. And honestly, I really like this item. It fits on a lot of different champions, but it isn't like broken. It's not insane. It's just pretty good. We've obviously got other crit changes as well. So like Zeal, 100 gold more expensive. It gives 5% less crit now, but that's because of the new Infinity Edge. All Zeal upgrade items though, so Rapid Fire, Shiv, or whatever, they are all 300 gold more expensive, except Phantom Dancer, which is 200 gold more. This isn't that bad because you're only going to probably be buying one of these per game now, but actually it does feel pretty bad having 300 gold more. That is a whole kill's worth of gold that you need extra. Infinity Edge is 3,700 gold now. That's really expensive. It's 10 more AD. It doesn't give like crit strike damage anymore. It doesn't give crit itself, but it does double your crit chance, and 15% of crit damage is converted to true damage, which is really nice. It definitely doesn't feel good rushing this anymore. Not even like second item, honestly. Because of the way it works now, you need a crit item first, so like any Zeal item. Plus, I actually think that you need to have some more AD or damage behind it to make that crit actually hit harder and start to use the true damage. If you just like straight rush Shiv into Infinity Edge, it doesn't feel as good as Storm Razor, Shiv, Infinity Edge, if that makes sense. Because with the Storm Razor, you have 70 more AD, which feeds into the crit more. Doubling your crit chance is actually so good though. It means you only have to have one Zeal item in crit builds now, but if you want to opt for 2, you can actually hit 100% crit, like, and play around that instead. The fact that you only have to have one though is so good. Like, you can get some lifesteal instead, you can get some arm penetration instead, you can get Essence Reaver instead. Like, there are so many more like build options you have if you don't have to go triple crit every single game. Speaking of Essence Reaver, I obviously got the rework. You can see the stats. It's actually really good, but the passive part is insane. This is probably the most powerful item coming out of the update. It scales on so many different champions. You obviously have your typical Kai'Sa and Lucian champions who use abilities a lot. Because of the passive, obviously 30% attack speed is really nice, but refunding 20% of the remaining cooldown on your other abilities is amazing. Then you have people like Vayne who can tumble every other auto attack now, get more stealth with the ultimate, so it's really good. Then you have crit champions like a Sivir who can can have 100% uptime on her W, or Tristana, who has 100% uptime on her Q attack speed. So Essence Reaver slots into a late game crit build for them as well. It's not just a first item anymore that has to go into a crit build. It goes into basically any build. It is amazing on other roles as well, not just for AD carries like a Master Yi. There are a couple of other things, like Last Whisper has been reworked to give total arm penetration again. So it used to give bonus, which only penetrates like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. It only penetrates armor that you would get from items or like runes and stuff. That obviously didn't work because that was only good versus tanks, but now it being total arm pen is base as well, so it'll actually cut down an AD carry or a mid laner just the same as it would a tank. The Last Whisper gives 10%, the Lord Dominates gives 35%, and Mortal Reminder it gives 25%. Mortal Reminder is a bit less because it also has the healing reduction passive on there, but the upgrades are 200 gold more expensive because it's now total, but they give 10 less AD as well. It's probably going to go back to something where you actually need to get a Last Whisper in games. It's so much better than it was before. Blade and Bloodthirster are going to be 200 gold less as well. More Malmortius is getting a few changes, so a Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel is actually going to be a little bit better. You get 5 more AD and 10 more armor for free. Who doesn't love free stuff, right? More Malmortius is kind of like a reshuffle. It's actually not that much better, but it is going to be if you get it kind of early into the game. The good thing about Bloodthirster being a bit cheaper though, in my opinion at least, is because Zeal is going to be 300 gold more expensive, Bloodthirster 200 gold cheaper, so your full, like, if you get the 3 items, you get like a Zeal item plus Infinity Edge and Bloodthirster. You're actually only paying 100 gold more than you would be for those 3 items on live servers, so they kind of offsets the Zeal item change, if that makes sense, because you're going to get this lifesteal a lot more in games. Hopefully you guys understood what's going to change. Let me know what you think of the new Nimbus Cloak rune and anything else as well. Make sure you go and comment on QT, but for now I will leave you with the robots.